Hello to all my atheist friends. This video is inspired by a comment left for me by Brother Vittorio, one of our Muslim friends, who told me that when I'm in need or about to die, that I will call out for God desperately and find out that I was a believer all along. Now, I know this not to be the case, because there was one occasion in my life where I really did think I was going to die, and needless to say, I remember it very vividly. I was an atheist by the age of 13. I was an atheist by the age of 7. That's another story, but my recollection is clear enough for me to be sure. So, a 13-year-old atheist has a friend whose neighbour has a swimming pool and whose neighbour has gone on holiday. It was a very warm year. It must have been late summer, because the swimming pool was covered in a heavy plastic tarpaulin, which had obviously been purposely constructed for the pool. It fitted the pool exactly. It had a simple roller at one end, at the deep end, and obviously we climbed over the wall with our towels and our swimming trunks, giggling at being so naughty, and we uncovered about 4 feet of pool at the far end, which would have been the shallow end, only, I don't know, a couple of feet deep. And we challenged each other to get into the pool at the deep end and swim underneath the plastic cover, and which was obviously protecting the pool from leaves, and to get out the other end on just a lung of air. We all succeeded. I remember that I went last that time around, and somebody, possibly even myself, proposing that I go first, swimming the other way, because we were feeling very manly and very brave. So I dived into the pool, and obviously, with it being the shallow end, knocked myself unconscious for a few seconds. It wouldn't have been probably a second. I remember the pain of it, and I remember crying out with pain, which of course emptied my lungs of all the air. And I had forward momentum, and that forward momentum carried me out of the shallow end, or at least beyond my depth. I obviously went vertical immediately, trying to get to the surface, but my feet didn't touch the bottom, and when my hands encountered the plastic cover, they couldn't really do a lot. They could only scratch at it. I remember that the plastic was blue, because it struck me as absurd that survival was probably less than an inch away on the other side of this plastic. And I realised that I couldn't do a great deal. I remember trying to get to the sides. I knew I'd never be able to get the full length of the pool, but I did, to my orientation, try to turn towards the sides, and that probably is what saved my life. But I wasn't exactly swimming coherently. I was just sort of scratching and doggy paddling at the same time, and getting nowhere against this plastic cover. And because I was panicking, my increased heart rate used up all the oxygen that was still in my bloodstream, and I started to black out long before I got to the side. And when I say blackout, I mean, first of all, my vision went completely black. At this point, I had a hallucination. I'm sure we've all seen it, the 1950s cop melodrama, where a newspaper spins towards the camera and stops at an angle, showing you the headline. needless to say, the headline on my newspaper was "Boy Drowns in Pool," with a photograph of my parents holding each other and crying on the steps of the church where I presumably had just been buried. I remember feeling sorry for them, and I remember feeling sadness for them. I didn't feel any sadness for myself. Not an ounce, nothing. But for them, I was sorry. And I passed out. I don't remember my friends fishing me out of the pool. I don't remember them dragging me up onto the tiles by the side of the pool. I don't remember them, I don't even know if they did pump my chest or anything like that. My first recollection is being on my side and seeing a stream of water coming out of my mouth. And then I flopped over onto my back because I was completely exhausted. And the only thing that was in my line of sight was the sun. There wasn't a cloud in the sky. And I cannot tell you, there aren't enough words to describe how incredibly beautiful that sun was, and how grateful I was to have a second chance at life. And I suppose that event really goes a long way to explaining why I've never been a very ambitious person. My only ambition is to laugh as much as I can and to try and be the best person that I can. I don't lust after money, position, wealth, power, influence. It's simply not in me. It wasn't in me before that day, and if there was any trace of it, it was completely destroyed by that experience, because I remember deciding before I even sat up that if all there was in life was that sun and that sky, then that was more than enough for me. And I remember asking who actually got me out of the pool. Now, for those men out there who can cast their mind back to being a teenager, you might remember that the most horrific accusation that can be made to you at a young age is that you're a homosexual, a puff, as we used to say in England, or I suppose a fag if you're in America. And I remember kissing the lad who fished me out of the pool on the lips and sensing the shock from the other boys, and I just laughed. I didn't give a shit. I was alive. I was going home. It was a beautiful day, and I believe Batman was starting up on TV, a rerun of the Adam West Batman, and life could not have been better, so I didn't give a toss about any accusations or misunderstandings. The reason I tell you all this is because when a theist tells you that in your last moments you're going to cry out for God, it's not true. If it's within your power to do anything at all, the only thing that will be going through your head is, how do I survive? How do I get out of this? Is there anything I can do? And once it's out of your hands, before you lose consciousness, when you feel yourself lose consciousness, it'll be so quick you won't have time to really worry about anything. You won't have time to think about anything or to fear anything. It will just happen. And I suspect, rather like me, you might think, is this what all the fuss was about?